Welcome back to the Dungeon Master's Block, the place where we come to talk about the Dungeon Master, the most important person in the game. With every conversation, we hope to inspire as many as possible to keep on dungeon mastering.
And I'm one of your hosts, DM Derrick, aka How Not to DM.
And I'm your other host, DM Neal, aka Jote Maniac. And today we are going to be talking about a subject that neither of us are experts in, and that's why we have guests. That is 100% why we bring people on to talk about things, so that we learn and you learn at the same time. And today we're going to be talking to Blastin Astrid, a cosplayer and someone who is a professional DM on the D20 cruises. Someone I have met in person several times, and she is wonderful, and she is going to talk to us about tier 4 play. It is a very difficult task, and she is very excited about it, so hopefully it convinces you or comforts you in being able to do the same.
But before we get to that, we have some 5-star reviews that we would love to read. This one is coming from Apple Podcasts. It is from DM Andy. I was looking for a podcast that wasn't just a bunch of playthrough of their sessions or campaigns, or some sort of debrief of past sessions. I wanted to hear from other DMs having conversations about aspects of various TTRPGs, and this is exactly what I wanted. Super informative, super cool ideas being shared, and very fun to hear some of the same thoughts I've had as a DM outlaid between experienced GMs. Thanks, Andy, for your review, and I wholeheartedly agree. It is amazing to talk to other people who are running games and realize that we all have the same struggles and we've all had similar thoughts. But also I love talking to other people and getting inspiration and ideas from them. And that's exactly what this show gave to me before I, joined in on the fun. So thanks so much for your review.
Definitely. And if you had DM Andy or anyone, if you haven't gone back through our catalog, definitely go back. There is one titled just DM Catharsis Hour, where it's just us just kind of talking just about some of the struggles of being a DM.
Yep, with Eric Silver. Great person, Eric Silver, and it was a really good episode. I mean, the whole catalog is interesting, and obviously if you are new to the show and you've just listened to recent stuff and you haven't gone back and checked out some of the older episodes, there's a lot of good stuff in there about a whole slew of topics. So if you're looking for some specific advice, odds are we've probably talked about it on the show before.
And right before we head to the meat, something I say in the episode in between recording and now, if you are interested in signing up for the D20 cruise, I do have an affiliate link for me personally. So if you put in Neal DM at checkout, it will get you $50 off of your booking, and it will send me $50 for saying this out loud, because as always, the people that run the cruise look at it in a very amazing way to say that that is the marketing budget, and rather than put it in their pockets, they would rather put it in your pocket and mine to give us a kickback for doing that for them. So they're amazing people doing an amazing job, and hope that they can continue to expand all of the things that they offer. Yeah, so event.cruises. So if you're not only interested in D&D, next year they're also doing a battle barge, which is Warhammer 40,000. They also do GakuCon, which is related to more anime cosplay. Then in 2027, it's more of like an Enchanted Forest theme cruise that they're going with as well. So there's a bunch of stuff in the works for them. And I definitely have had some behind the scenes conversations, and they have amazing pie in the sky dreams and hopes. So yeah, and I hope everything that they have thought of is achieved. And I hope I can help them along the way.
And I know sometimes it's not as fun to listen to this stuff beforehand, but like Neal said, it really helps us as the show when you help support us. And yeah, it's fun to support really good people out there who are doing good things for the community, like the D20 Cruise folks.
But with that, let's head to the Tier 4 meat.
I'm starving. We ain't had nothing but maggoty bread for 3 stinking days.
Why can't we have some meats?
Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys.
So today on the meat, once again, it's getting more prevalent that I have actually seen this person in real life. I know how tall they are, or how tall they can be, depending on the cosplay. But we have Blastin Astrid, cosplayer, game master, fantasy nerd, and creative project fiend here today. Thanks for coming on.
Woohoo! Happy to be here.
And we will see each other in 3 weeks.
3 weeks. I'm counting down the days.
Yes, we will be on the D20 cruise once again. And dear listeners, because I am abysmal at promoting anything that I do, if you're interested in the cruise, you can currently pre-order 2026 and 2027. If I had a code, I'd give it to you, but I don't. So when I do, you'll hear about it.
So, yeah, it feels like every episode now is just another person from the cruise, and I get to feel more and more FOMO building up, which is great. But with that out of the way,
that's the goal.
Yeah, apparently, I'm going to get bullied
until he's
into going.
Overwhelmed and joins us. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
We'll bully you into going on the cruise. It's fun.
Mm-hmm. So, Astrid, please tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into tabletops, the other fun stuff that you work on. Anything you think the listeners might be interested in hearing.
Yeah, absolutely. I got into D&D because I was hanging out with a group of friends one day, and we were all watching a show none of us particularly liked, and we were all scrolling on our phones, looking at stuff we didn't particularly care about, and I was like, hey guys, what if we did something where we interacted with each other? And one of them was immediately like, no board games. I was like, okay, well, I've heard about Dungeons and Dragons. We're all nerds here. I bet we would like that. Let me go to the store, buy the D&D game, and then we'll come home and play it tonight.
Yeah.
So I went to Target, got the starter set, started reading the rules, and I was like, oh, this is involved. So Q2, like a week later, once I understood the game, had watched some Critical Role, actually read the rules, I started my forever DMing, and I have been DMing ever since. That was like 2016. And now I've been doing it all the time. It's a great way to meet friends. It is one of my biggest social networks. It has been an outlet to a lot of creativity because that led me into sewing and doing cosplays. I started cosplaying from Critical Role, met a bunch of friends that way, and it all just ties up into a really fun creative bow of getting to write cool campaigns for people, getting to go on cruises, making neat outfits and running around conventions in weird clothes, which is what I love to do. So that was kind of the beginning of my journey. And I've tried to weave my music making into that because I'm a professional musician as well. So I've never played a bard because I feel like I'm a bard in real life. So that's still on my bucket list in terms of playing as a player. But most of the time I DM and I love it. And I really love high tier play. That is kind of my favorite thing. If you give me an opportunity to do level 2 or level 20, I'm picking level 20 every time. So I kind of like the insane superhero nutso level stuff.
I have so many things that just happened. One, the idea that we should go driving, but I don't want to use a commuter car. Let's do Formula One. You're just like, what? How adamantly it was that you didn't want to do board games and went to D&D. That blows my mind. Secondly, you approached doing D&D the same way they did 40 years before, where they're like, well, I heard through the grapevine that there's this newfangled math rocks that can be rolled. I'll go to the corner store and return. That's amazing for the time frame. That it's not oh, I downloaded all these PDFs from this giant file, or not even I found these old books that somebody had the brother uncle, kind of situation of oh, hey kid, I think you'd be interested in these, of just a wild hair. And I hear a store nearby will sell me this D&D. And here we are.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that's one of the things that 5th edition was so successful at, was marketing and getting it out there and being this is a game that women and queer people can play too. Cause for a long time in my life, I had friends that played, or I knew of games going on, but it was just not my scene, or I didn't feel super welcome there. So something about the marketing for 5th edition just went straight into my eyeballs, and I was that target demographic in 2016, passively hearing about it from Stranger Things, passively hearing about Critical Role, that kind of stuff. And then I just kind of went down the rabbit hole on the internet my own.
It's awesome.
I will be negative for a hot second because I don't get to say this very often. Dear listener, if you enjoy Stranger Things and D&D, when you purchase the Stranger Things D&D starter set, it is by far the worst starter set that exists ever because it is written from the perspective of Will, a 12-year-old, writing an adventure. And there is nothing but an adventure that a 12-year-old seems to have written. And it is very difficult. It is not a way to enter this hobby at all. Almost every other starter set will be markedly better. The Rick and Morty one, again, very thematic, not the best way to introduce yourself if you don't know what's going on, but still better than the Stranger Things one, because again, it is as if a 12-year-old wrote it down and was like, this should be published.
I mean, that's kind of the vibe they were going for, though, right? Like, it was supposed to be kind of kitschy.
Oh, yeah.
We played through it, my friends and I had a good time, but definitely, I mean, I can see why you'd say it's not for beginners. Yeah.
No, I played it at a convention and did not know what I was getting into.
It was definitely different than what I expected, so. But anyway, getting back on track here. Is there anything that you are working on currently, Astrid, that you can tell us about? Any fun projects coming up? Any big cosplays you're working on? Or anything with Five-Sided Fates?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest project that I'm working on, sorry to keep bringing up the cruise, but it is kind of on my mind lately. I like to, one of the things I do as a DM is I like to cosplay as the NPCs that the characters will meet so that they like have a more immersive experience with that NPC. So I'm putting together 5 looks for the 5 days of the cruise that are all NPCs that the characters.
Yeah, you're packing 5 different costumes in addition to your swimsuits and your normal clothes and everything else.
Yes, Drew's paying for my bags.
I was going to say, how many suitcases are you packing?
Well, I can fit it all in one, and so I try
That's
to be
impressive.
I try to be cognizant of how to pack for a cruise. You know, I don't do a lot of like contacts and stuff that would be nasty on the ocean. I try to reuse wigs and be creative about packing, and that's honestly part of the fun. So I am running a Spelljammer campaign.
Ooh.
Yes. So I am very excited about exploring some of the species that are involved in that. I'm making a cosplay for a Rygar, who are descended from like cephalopods, so they can change their skin color and texture. And so that one I'm pretty excited about because it's so open-ended, you know, because you can literally change your skin like a cephalopod can. And they're cool. They have little like bubble helmets. They kind of are like artistic terrorists, if that makes any sense. Like Sabine from Ahsoka, if you know, like a bard who's
some
of
Banksy vibes. I got
Banksy vibes, big Banksy vibes. Yeah.
Oh, I see you sold my picture, and it shredded itself. Ha ha! Fools. It's my favorite
Exactly.
moment of all time.
A general menace to society with really cool hair.
I have a new goal for my headstone. A general menace to society with cool hair.
I think that is the peak of what we can achieve as humans.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. I almost feel like the surprise question is, what do you wish was on your headstone? But we're not going to do that. We do have a surprise question. And usually it's a surprise to at least one of us because the other person just makes it up. But that is me. What is the most fulfilling cosplay moment that you've had?
Oh man, I think
I know.
probably the very first cosplay I ever did in front of people, which was the Bright Queen from Critical Role. She is a drow who is now surface dwelling, and she's got like a cool tri-horn helmet, and Matt Mercer described her in the most beautiful way that she had like a couture white gown on, befitting a queen, but their country was about to go to war, so she was like battle ready, like fashion battle. So she had like cool, like a shoulder pauldron covered in pearls or something. So that was my most satisfying cosplay because not a lot of people have cosplayed her, but she is incredible. And I generally like cosplaying queens, any like older female character with power or stuff on their head. I've talked with my therapist about it. It's okay.
I assume I don't play the games just because like they're not for me, but I assume that like 9-foot lady out of Resident Evil is right up that alley. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the genre.
That's a classic. That's a classic. Yeah.
Giant, powerful women.
What I find interesting is that because I've asked the question does fall to both Derrick and I. So I don't know if Derrick has an answer. I do have an answer. So a while ago, I had purchased like a rental quality Chewbacca outfit. And so I don't wear it regularly because my options are sweat or itch. Then you just figure out where in between the two you would like to exist inside that costume. That's how it works. It's a giant hairy costume. But I was truly dying inside that thing because I went to an event that was Star Wars themed, but the fulfillment of the just pure joy of children and adults alike to just come take pictures with me for like an hour. And I was just in the straight open sun. Like I'm not in a building, I'm outside. But yeah, that was probably the highlight because it was also it was March for Dimes, which helps support some of the stuff that my daughter had gone through. Yes. So it was like everything was just coming together perfectly. So that's definitely the highlight. It was also an awful experience in a different regard, but in terms of fulfillment, top notch.
Yeah, I truly see cosplay as a gift to the people that brought the character to life, but also a gift to the community of like, it's fun to see Chewbacca. Everybody has a better time when Chewbacca shows up. So
I know I would.
You have put in the labor as a gift to the community to wear itchy, weird outfit or purchase an itchy, weird, complicated outfit for the joy of everyone around you. So I think it's like a way of like giving back to the community, and whether you do it for charity reasons, which I love, charity cosplay is the best. If you have even a little bit of cosplay interest, go sign up for a charity cosplay because it's so fulfilling and so awesome. But also just as a gift to your fellow nerds.
Done.
Does Halloween count?
Sure. Oh yeah.
I do have an answer then. My sons love dinosaurs. And so for Halloween, my wife and I were Dr. Alan Grant and Dr. Ellie Sattler, respectively. And they were dinosaurs. And they just had so much fun with that. And the stuff that we wore like went into the costume bag that they continue to dig from, you know. So my son will routinely ask me when I'm going to dress up as the guy from Jurassic Park again, you know, even though he's never seen the movies because he's far too young to, you know, not suffer nightmares. But he thought it was really cool. And he asks me all the time if I'm going to dress up like that next year or if I'll do it for his birthday, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I haven't ever done like cosplay for an event other than like a Halloween costume. I'm not saying that I wouldn't want to. I did a play and you know, did that costume a while ago, and that was fun, but I didn't like wear it anywhere else. I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is I'm not above, like, you know, I don't think I'm above cosplay, but it's just, I don't know. I haven't gotten into it as much as other folks yet. We'll see.
Who knows?
Gotta do it.
That could probably all get cut. But
nope.
You know.
I dress up every Halloween for my kids. No matter what
that's like the
what
fun.
They ask for.
Okay. So you mentioned it earlier, Astrid, that you really love tier 4 high level play. So let's talk about that. First of all, yeah, how do you define high level / tier 4 play? And yeah, I guess, yeah, we'll start there.
Yeah, so I tend to think of D&D in kind of 5-level chunks. Some people online might disagree. Hey, maybe we'll disagree here about where those divisions are. But I think that like D&D is very different about every 5 levels, not only in terms of what the heroes are able to do, the players, but also what the tone, the genre, and the stakes are of the game.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So when we're looking at 4 tiers, tier 1 we would define as like levels 1 through 4-ish. Some people might cap it at 5, but like levels 1 through 4, which is like local heroes. So, you're doing stuff in your city, your municipality, maybe your local war chief is, asking you for help, like that kind of tier. And then tier 2, I would define as like 5 through 10, which is, oh gosh, the DM's guide actually has like proper names for this. But I want to say that it's Heroes of the Realm. So 5, fact check me on this. So 5
I don't
through
even
10,
remember that being in there, so I'm glad you at least remember it.
First off, so far you're batting 1,000.
Hey!
Local heroes levels 1 to 4, 5 to 10. Heroes of the Realm.
Woo! Heroes of the Realm, levels 5 through 10. Now we're talking, we can cast Fireball at this point. We can do more stuff. This to me is like where you meet the president. Like the president is kind of maybe heard about you or maybe specifically asking you to help. So you're kind of like now at a national level. And then 11 through 15. Let's see if I can get this one right. I'm going to say Heroes of the World.
Okay, we're close. So local heroes, Heroes of the Realm, Masters of the Realm.
Oh,
okay, instead
yes,
of a hero,
Masters of the
sure.
Realm.
Yeah, and it's 11 to 16.
Ah, yeah.
Oh, literally the first post is from Reddit. I feel like there are 5 tiers. Not
Is that
4. I'm
Astrid?
just like,
What's the username?
Yeah, is that me from 5 years ago?
I'm like,
being a jerk on Reddit.
2 years ago, I feel this is exactly why I don't go to Reddit. Literally, that's all I need to know to remind me why I don't go to Reddit immediately.
Well, here, I'm going to disagree with that. I'm going to go ahead and say 11 through 15
Okay.
being Masters of the Realm. So now you were influencing the president, right? So rather than the president influencing you, now you are a tier above that. Maybe you're talking international stuff, continental stuff, dealing wars between nations is the kind of stuff that you are dealing with. So at this point, even in tier 3, we've left behind kind of the dungeon crawly fight goblins, cut off their ears and bring them to the local guy for some money. Like at this point, you're negotiating treaties between countries. And not to say you can't do a dungeon crawl at that point, but it would have to be something really incredible and epic. And then moving into tier 4, which I personally would define as 16 through 20. This is going to be, I know it. Obviously, I know it. I'm going to say it for the listener who is learning, and that is going to be
Masters of the World.
Masters of the World. Yeah, so at this point, you are a demigod. You're Achilles. You are a legendary hero. One of maybe 10 who has existed in the entire history of the planet. Like you are going down in songs that will be sung for hundreds of years, maybe millennia after you are dead. That's the tier. And so at this point, you're fighting gods. You're going to different planes. Maybe you're going to like exclusive planes like Elysium. Like you're meeting with top tier people who don't even live in the material plane anymore. So at that point, we're talking superhero stuff, and not all superheroes, like Superman, Thor. I think those are the kind of like epic multi-planar situations that you're dealing with at that point. And so the combat's different, the social encounters are different, the exploration is different. So yeah, that's kind of where I like to live.
Yeah, the same challenges will not even scratch the surface from like a level 5 game to a level 20 game, right? Like at level 4 or 5, there's still a bunch of stuff that could kill you, and there's a bunch of stuff that is dangerous. But once you get that high of a level, like there's someone in your party who can succeed at just about anything, right? So like the stakes are just so different. And like you said, like the story has to be different because of that.
Yeah. And I also think like the things you're worried about are different, right? Like in level 1 through 5, like you said, a goblin can drop you. If you're a wizard at level 2, like woof. So
a bugbear, God forbid a bugbear
God
shows
forbid
up
a bugbear.
and catches you by surprise. You're extra special dead.
Extra special, fully dead, never coming back. So you're worried about your own like survival at that point. But I think once you hit like 17, 18, and 20, at that point, you're not necessarily worried about your own survival, because your win conditions for a battle, I think, should be different. Not just I need to live through this, but someone else needs to live through this. This planet needs to survive. And so me winning the battle is not now just about me reducing a bag of hit points to 0. It's, I gotta save the planet. There's an electrical lightning storm that is spanning 2 planes, and I have to make sure as many people as possible survive. I'm navigating all this different stuff. I have to choose between, maybe a really important NPC in my background dying versus the queen of the world and the other plane dying. I can only go to one plane. So like, I think your win conditions and your stuff, the stakes have to be totally different than just survive and kill the bad guy.
The old trolley problem.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Have you seen the clip where the kid's probably like 2 or 3 and the dad's like, okay, the trolley's going to go down this way and it's going to hit 1 person, or the trolley's going to go down this way and hit 5 people. Which way do you want to go? And the little kid goes over, picks up the 1 person, puts it on the side with the 5, and then goes down that way to ensure that all 6.
Kill everyone.
Yeah, got it. Oh, I see, Dad. I see the problem.
100%.
We can't get them all.
How many XP did I get? How many XP?
I fixed it. So, going backwards, 2 things. 1, Astrid, I feel like you and I connect like on a D&D like soul level. Like you have like an old D&D soul in a way that I don't think you quite realize. As someone with enough gray hair and enough experience, you have a tendency, I see, to approach it in like this old school meets new school way that I always try to use, because like I understand the history, and like, again, if you don't learn from it, you're doomed to repeat it, all of those adages. So like I always hold the history close because I think it's important just to ensure that we do things better moving forward. Now, that said, the thing that really stuck out to me was the idea of the superhero analogies. Because a lot of times people always say, how do you write a good Superman story? And one of the things is that's just so difficult because he often has powers at the speed of plot. Like, is he doing this? Is he doing that? Is he just today? He is faster than the Flash. So like, then what's the point of the Flash? Or he is smarter than Batman. And you're like, then what's the point of the Batman? Like, and so one of the most two poignant stories was when Superman realizes that Shazam is actually a 10-year-old boy, and Superman is beside himself because he can't just fix that. A 10-year-old boy is having the same superhero experiences and trauma as an adult superhero. And he's like, who did this to you? And it's like this weird wizard in a cave from like 5,000 years ago. And it's like Batman, Superman can't just go punch this guy. But the same thing. Or when someone he loves has cancer or something like that. And for all of his powers, for everything that he knows, he can't just do something. And so like, I see that, like, and I don't know that I've ever viewed it that way in terms of the high level play, but like, those are the stakes you start dealing with, because what I realize is oftentimes a party, they've fought through so much death and potential actual character deaths that they have a tendency to create contingencies at that level. Them dying almost isn't ever a problem. Either one of the other party can just fix that, or you have fail safes that are like, oh, if I die, my ring glows. I get, like, this is something that I learned from the people that had brought me up in D&D. They had a high level campaign where they had rings that when they died, transported them back to basically the infirmary in their castle.
Did it drop all their loot?
Yeah, it's Ultima Online. I gotta hurry! Get back to my body! Oh, they're gonna loot me! But yeah, that concept of like character death is very likely trivial for most D&D campaigns that hit tier 4.
Yeah, I guess it just depends. Like, death can still be a stake, but like you said, Astrid, like, it can be death of other people that maybe have less power or less ability, or the deaths of hundreds of thousands or millions or whatever, that example of the lightning storm. And I'm assuming that's a real thing that you have done because you've referenced it a few times. Is that? Yeah, we'll talk about that, I'm sure.
It seemed too real.
Yeah. So
Too real.
On that note, let's chat about, are there any other ways that you feel like prep is just inherently different for these kind of high level games versus the low level games, other than like stakes and stuff?
And I do want to jump in with a secondary question because I have it. So let's also preface, Derek and I have already discussed we are not as well versed, and that is why you are here to talk about this topic. Like, we've done one shots, but I've never done a campaign. Like, I've done quite a few one shots, both as a player and as the person running it in terms of 2017 around there. And I have a campaign that I'm in, but it's only more of 15, but I start to see those things. So also, when prepping, is there a big difference from the bottom of tier 4 and the top of tier 4 in your mind?
Ooh, what a good question. And yeah, I mean, I also got to say, like, I don't know how frequent it is. Maybe not. I think probably not frequent at all for a campaign to start at level 1 and go all the way to level 20. Like, it's just so rare, just because schedules, people move, people change, stuff happens. Like, who knows? Or you might feel like there's a satisfying ending around level 12 and like the story's done, and that's great. Like, I don't think you should mark the success or failure of your D&D campaign of if it went to level 1 to level 20. And honestly, maybe more people should prep shorter versions of campaigns instead of expecting something to go from level 2 to level 20, because then you never get to do level 20. And I don't know that it's harder. It's maybe a bit more stuff to remember, but I don't think it's harder because it's hard to survive at level 1 as well. Those are actually, I think it's honestly a lot harder to like balance a level 1 and 2 game.
Oh, it's so much more swingy at that level, right?
I do. I think that it's a lot more treacherous. So you got a lot more leeway at tier 4, honestly. And so, like, to talk about that, a lot of the level 20 and high tier play stuff that I've done is mini campaigns that started at level 16 or one shots that were just level 21 shots. Like, I want to make a crazy level 20 character and I want to go do something. So, like, I think it's really okay to have like a campaign that you know is going to last 3 months and you start at level 16 and the whole tone of it, because one of the difficulties of going through level 2 all the way to level 20 in a single campaign is that the tone changes, right? Like, I think that, like, we were talking about superhero stuff, and I love your example with Superman and Shazam. Like, that's so perfect. Like, you can't punch your way out of that problem of you're traumatizing a child. You can't reduce that problem to 0 hit points and make it go away. So that's quality tier 4 stuff, and you can totally have a tier 4 campaign that's all tier 4 because, you know, level 1 and level 2, level 3, level 4 work good with like horror, right? Any like gritty, low magic kind of stuff. And it's all very much more real. And in a way, it's kind of exciting at those levels in the sense of like your normal people accept you got a little extra. Whereas at level 20, I think you're going to have a really hard time running a horror themed campaign in tier 4. I actually don't think that's one of the genres that like works with it. I mean, maybe not.
No wizards for no wishes, no clerics for no divine interventions, no fighters for punching. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Like you just you start running out real quick.
You're running a superhero campaign and it should be epic level stuff. So I think in terms of the preparation that I do, not only do I prepare combat, because I think you've got to have that with like, you know, big scary monsters and appropriate CR or whatever that means. But I also like to always have an environmental aspect to combat at that level.
Yes, definitely.
You always have to. And not just a layer action, but like I love running there's a level 20 Tarrasque hunt one shot that I like to take to conventions and stuff. And in that, buildings are falling down everywhere. Like the world is toppling over. There's earthquakes and stuff that the Tarrasque is like only tangentially causing. So there's always a building falling down. There's always a sinkhole opening up. There's a fissure in the earth and you could fall into the crack of that. Like, there's always environmental things that I need you to spend your resources. I need you to spend your bonus action using Misty Step to get away from the earthquake so that you can't use your bonus action and your action to both deal damage to the creature. So it makes your big bad boys and monsters last a little bit longer. But it also makes your players think creatively. I also like to think about like Zelda dungeons for that kind of dungeon crawl in tier 4. Like, have you guys played Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom at all? Where like you go inside this giant monster and do a whole dungeon inside of it to get it to break down, and then it gets mad at you, and then you fight the thing. So I think you got to think about draining the player resources. You have to emotionally compromise them so they're not thinking straight. Use up their bonus actions on environmental hazards, and then bring your big bad monsters. Does that answer all the questions?
Did you talk to your therapist about the emotional damage part too?
Oh, your players want to be emotionally damaged.
Yeah, they
just
do.
A little bit.
You're right. They 100% do. Yes, I agree 100%.
You just have a button that plays that meme. Emotional damage.
Over and over again. No, I agree 1,000% with that. I think like knowing how to tax resources is an important skill at all of the tiers, but especially at tier 4. You're right. Like, we're talking, you could have a fighter doing 8 attacks at advantage at this level in one turn and just, blasting, absolutely blasting. So like, you've got to find creative ways to force them to not be at their best for each of the rounds and stuff, and give them other exciting things to do. And honestly, like, I feel like it adds to the drama, it adds to the tension as well, instead of it being just your normal combat, roll hit, roll doesn't hit, like there's so much more going on, and that makes it more engaging and fun too.
Yeah. The first time I ever ran my Tarrasque Hunt one shot, which it's been through a lot of changes, was I kind of ran it like the Tarrasque is a bag of hit points.
Yeah.
It's like you show up, there's a Tarrasque, kill it. We've only got 2 hours. It's convention. It's just the battle. That's what we're going to do. And it kind of sucked. It was kind of boring. I mean, no, like, it was like, I'm just waiting on my turn and I do 100 damage. Great. Like, so no, I think you're totally right that you have to be able to balance all of that stuff. 'Cause you want it to be an intense, exciting experience. So yeah, keep them on the toes. I'm also big on, I like misinformation.
Ooh.
The higher the higher we go, you prepared the wrong spells. Uh-oh.
That's so mean.
Oh yes. You have to be.
I know.
You have to deliver it with a little sugar, and you have to not compromise any player's boundaries, right? And if you have a player that's maybe like not super comfortable with their character yet, like be nice, right? Of course, when I'm talking about emotional damage, I'm talking about make your player choose between, picking their wife and or saving the entire world. But I also like, especially if it's in a long-term campaign, make sure that they're cool with that. Or like, I don't know, if you put an estranged wife in your background, I think that's license for the DM to put them up. So, make sure you're being communicative and only give players emotional damage that they signed up for, and only induce the amount of anxiety that a player signed up for and wants and is fun in combat. But my goal is to keep it from being boring instead of like, oh, I already know what I'm going to do. You need to also mess with their plans, right? That's why the environmental stuff is great and why I love lightning and electricity, because it can kind of strike anywhere. So having that on their back burner so that they have to be changing their plans constantly, I think is much more fun. Especially
at this level too, like combat turns can take much longer because everyone can do a lot more. They're rolling a lot more dice. Everyone's trying to squeeze every last drop out of that action economy. And then on top of that, like you said, you've got the lair actions, you've got the legendary actions. Yeah, and the monster's doing like 5 attacks each turn or whatever, right? So there's just like, 3, 4, 5 times as much stuff happening in a turn as there would be at the lowest level. And so you've got to try to kind of keep them engaged. Otherwise, it's pretty easy to check out.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like the same goal you have at tier 1, you have at tier 4, but it's different because the whole thing is like you really want your players to have opportunities to do cool things. But at tier 1, you really have to facilitate that option. Like, are you putting more things, objects that they can interact with? Because the fighter literally has the 1 die roll, like in essence, and the wizard has a few spells. And so you're giving opportunities for them to do cool things. At tier 4, you're giving them opportunities to do the cool things they already have. Like, you're not structuring it the same way. Like, it's more on you to give and set up those opportunities for them to engage with the things that they've chosen, because they have made so many more choices at that 16 to 20 range, and they want to do all those cool things. So it's more on you, the DM. Again, you're just trading one thing for the other, but you're focused more on like setting up dominoes that they can knock down, rather than just being like, oh, sorry, here's some dominoes. I see that you don't have any because you're level 1. So yeah, it's really interesting to think. The other thing that you brought up that kind of circled back to was the idea that at level 1 to 4, you're probably not on anyone's radar. You might be because of your background. You might be because of a little something that you've done, but by and large, you don't matter. Well, that's not true anymore. You're a player, like, and for multiple reasons. Is it that it's an enemy that doesn't want you to exist anymore for whatever reason? Or is it someone else that just wants to manipulate you? I think of Darkseid versus Lex Luthor. Side note, we don't talk about this much on this podcast, but I know a stupid amount about comic books. So thank you for the opportunity. But the idea that Darkseid is just going to show up and just wreck house and wants to kill Superman. Lex Luthor doesn't want that. Lex Luthor wants to have been interpreted as having done nothing wrong and given every single person what they wanted. Granted, what did they lose in that process and what did he gain? And that is the ultimate goal for Lex Luthor. But both of those Superman is on their radar. The Condiment King is not. It's literally a superhero that uses condiments. And he is known as the Condiment King. So this is this is the level of knowledge about comic books that I happen to have. That I've through Condiment King. You're going to look it up. I see where your eyes are looking. You're going to type in Condiment King and you're going to find out
he's fact checking
that I didn't make that up.
What in the world is this?
Although I love that I adore all of that. I think that, like, thank you for talking about, like, giving the players some dominoes so that they can make them fall. I think as much as, you should be concerned about emotional damage and, increasing your players' like activity during combat, I think you also have to set them up for home runs. Cause that's also the fun of level 20 is you want to keep them on their toes. You want to drain their resources and stuff. But like, if you have a player with a Vorpal sword, give them an enemy that they can cut their head off. Like let them have that win, like set them up to do their cool ability, which means it is a little more prep on your side that you need to like go read through your players' character sheets and know what is their like top tier ability, what is their cool thing, or is there something that their character has been talking about for several levels now, being proud of their ability to do that, even if it's something totally out of their character sheet, like they always talk to animals. Do they ever speak with animals? Maybe not, but it's just a thing that their character always does. So like give them a moth that flies into their vicinity that they can talk to and whisper off like Gandalf. And then that's how they summon their, spectral dragon or something. So I think setting them up for home runs that feels right for the character, whether it's in their mechanics or by listening to your players' role plays, I think the fun of playing a level 20 or a tier 4 character is that you get to do those big swings. So let it happen. And because now it's started to switch into DM mode. So we've been talking about the player's experience, but then also thinking about the DM experience. You were talking about like Lex Luthor's motivations are different in the sense that, maybe your big bad evil guy does not want to kill the heroes. Maybe that's not even on their radar. Maybe they don't want to. Maybe they're not into killing. They're just, an extreme capitalist that needs their business to succeed. And in order for their business to take over the entire multiverse, we just need to make sure this one princess dies in a way that no one else knows about it. Right. So the villain's motivations also might be more complex. Just like you gave the Sophie's Choice and the trolley problems to your players, make sure your villains have those too, because your players might opt for a different win condition than just kill the villain.
Oh, and I love the idea of setting up Lex Luthor to help the characters kill Darkseid, because then Darkseid's out of the way. And all of it leans back. Listeners do probably know, there's a Young Justice podcast that I've done. But in that, like, a lot of longtime villains step up when they realize, oh no, Darkseid's just going to blow up the planet. And like, that's not really what I'm interested in, even as a villain. Like, yeah, I don't want to help the heroes, but I kind of have to, because if I don't, then I just don't have anything. And those are also the kind of discussions you can have at level 20 of like, no, there are multiverse ending effects happening, probably a lightning storm. But the idea is that, like, we have to work together, and we can go back to fighting each other after this, but we need to work together now. And so that's also, especially if it's a longer campaign, or you set them up to be, is it 10 to 20? And they've been fighting this villain for the past 10 levels, but now realize, or I have to set that aside. That yes, they are a bag of hit points that I would love to reduce to 0, but like, I can't be, or else we are all but bags of hit points reduced to 0.
Aren't we all just bags of hit points?
I really want to make a monster called a bag of hit points.
I bet it exists, but you could make your own. So in talking about the most recent or good examples of tier 4 games we have run recently, you were talking about your Trask one shot. I'm going to definitely hit you up after this for that, because it sounds like bucket of fun and my players would love that. But yeah, tell us about the lightning storm. Is it the same or is it different? And tell us kind of a little bit about how it went and how the kind of philosophy you had did or didn't work well.
Yeah. So the electrical lightning storm came from a place where there was I've been using this example all podcast, so we might get into it. There was an NPC from a player's backstory, which was their estranged wife, who was being held in the plane of ice. And they were on the other side of like a portal. So a big part of leading up to this fight was them needing to find the portal. Where is it? We had to like go. It was a whole adventure just to find the location of the portal, right? So it's been a long time coming to get here. And then, of course, there's a huge army waiting for them at the portal. So they've got to make these quick decisions of like, do we leave some people behind to deal with the massive army surrounding the portal? Do we all go through it, potentially leading them over there? So there was a lot going on, and there was a lot of like sacrifices that had to be made and choices that had to be made. And it was utterly unwinnable. And eventually what happened in that particular game, which I'd love to run this again because, you know, everyone takes it differently, was the PC who was the husband of this estranged wife ended up in the side of the portal that was in the plane of ice. And the estranged wife essentially said, I'm not as important as millions of people on the other side. I need you to let me go. And so they basically spent the whole battle like having an emotional conversation with an NPC from their backstory. And then the other three players were handling the giant army battle, which was honestly very refreshing. And it made it feel like a movie.
Mm-hmm. The cutting back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah. And I really do think that you should have, I mean, it is a superhero genre. Sorry to keep coming back to that, but like, that's the tier of play that we're in. And so no one ever, in all of the songs that bards will sing about that battle, about those, you know, characters in that world, no one ever talks about the wife who sacrificed herself. You know, she kind of gets lost to history, but one group of people knows. And I think that that's maybe more special So you get the glory and the fame and the demigodhood and songs sang about you for ages, but you also have something for yourself. So I tend to approach combat in a very role play way. I love combat. It's, I wouldn't put myself in either. I'm a role play person or I'm a combat person. I like them both. And I honestly think they both work together better when they are thoughtfully put together. So that is that particular example. Her name's lost to history.
That's so fun. The lore like that follows that up too. Like you said, you're like, oh, and no one other than a select group of people actually know this happened. That's fun. I mean, not fun, but it is fun. Anyway, for me, most recently, I don't remember if it was before or after the holidays. I did a level 21 shot for my friend and his other game group. So he DMs this other group. They play online, and he was basically like, hey, do you want to do a level 21 shot that's like a flashback in my current game? So you get to run this world, and I'll play one of the characters of the part of the flashback, and then you kind of just get to play in this sandbox I give you. And I was like, done, I'll do it, He didn't have a stat block created for this evil entity, but basically it is this, kind of Lovecraftian, unknowable entity from the stars. So there's one city on the planet's surface that has a bunch of wards that keep this thing trapped in the moon. It found a way to communicate with the people of that world via meteors that came from the moon, a physical connection with the other planet, and was able to kind of like get its way inside. And so the one shot was these people live on this flying city. They're trying to figure out how, like, the flying cities are starting to lose power and no one knows why. Turns out it's this entity from the moon sucking the power out of them. But they, all of a sudden, it's like finding a way to connect more strongly with the people who live there and is starting to influence them and take over their minds. So the one shot is like in the engine room of the floating city. They've got to defeat this thing or something, like sever its connection so that it doesn't take over the entire planet. It boils down. So we did a lot of stuff that you kind of talked about. Like, I had some weird effects happening in the room. Magic was not working like you would expect it to, kind of like a wild magic effect, but different. There was some time dilation and stuff. I was trying to make it really kind of spacey. And then at the very end, the real life husband and wife were playing like husband and wife in the game, and the husband sacrifices himself and the rest of the party so that the wife can survive. But the twist is that he and the rest of them were sent to the moon where they still live, and she stayed on the planet and thought that they all died. And so that's like kind of one of the mysteries that the rest of the party get to unfold in the real actual game that's being played. But exactly, the kind of like that, like he kind of was planning this, but like, I was like, this is a perfect opportunity to split up lovers and like make this weird mystery, make it so that one of them thinks that everyone else is dead. The rest of them are like, oh, we're still alive, but she thinks we're dead. Really fun. And it's like a cool mystery that they get to keep unraveling together. So, the players all know what happened, but the characters don't, kind of trying to get to the bottom of that in their actual game. So that was so long-winded. I apologize, but it was complicated.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
it's all right. I'll counter it with approaching this as a player.
Yeah, sure.
So I am a player in a higher level campaign, and I play a Shatterkai, and so I'm not, as we can easily tell from listening to one episode, I don't really have it in me to edgelord any aspect of any character ever. So what I chose to do was, with the idea that death is set, it just live life to the fullest. Just experience everything you can, have a good time. It just is what it is. And when the Raven Queen takes me, that's my time. Cool. Up until then, like, sure, you want to fly a plane upside down through a barn? Secondhand lions. Great way to end. But like, sure, I'll do it. I'll try it. Like, what's the worst that happens? I die, then I was meant to die. Like that, I have given up my life to the Raven Queen in service of her. And if I die, I die, and that's fine. So, but because of that, and now that I'm higher level, shout out 2 episodes in a row to DM Trish, who's running the game. The concept is, well, if you're able to do that and still hold the tenets of the Raven Queen, are the Shattered Kai approaching it incorrectly? Are you the beacon of light that changes how this species exists? Those are the conversations you get to have at tier 4.
I love that. I think that's so cool because, you know, like both of you talked about, because you as a player have abilities that are not normal, you also have to deal with situations that are not normal.
Yes.
No therapist is going to be able to talk you through the trauma of your husband and all your friends got sent to the moon.
Yeah.
They don't have a template for that. So they have to deal with situations that are not normal, and you should put them in situations that are not normal. Both of you guys talked about that, and I think that that's another great like tip for if you want to like really make your tier 4 game sparkle. That is the good stuff.
Agreed. So we like to give our listeners a little bit of homework to do on the topic at hand. Usually it's like shows to watch, games to play, stuff to read, you know, movies, any kind of media that might really embody the ideas that we talked about. So in thinking about kind of tier 4 stuff, I mean, Neal already referenced a bunch of comic books, so we've got that. But yeah, what other stuff can you think of that really exemplifies the kind of level and the stakes and all of that stuff that we've been talking about that people should go check out?
Oh, man. You know, earlier in the podcast, I was talking about how like the horror genre doesn't always work with high tier stuff.
Yeah.
But you made a really good suggestion about like Lovecraftian stuff. And usually the Lovecraftian trope is that there's like this unknowable creature that regular people have to deal with. But there are some people that understand those creatures and hunt them and study them and deal with them. So I think that like after you watch the superhero movies for tier 4, I think like finding the competent characters in a Lovecraft story would be another good one. But oh man, this is hard homework.
Yeah. I'm kind of stumped as well. I'm trying to think like, yeah, superheroes are the obvious choice. But other than that,
I also want to say, because I'm in a Spelljammer place right now. I was talking about how I'm cosplaying a Rygar and I want to run a Spelljammer campaign. I think Spelljammer is one of the genres that works with higher tier because, you know, even just to get to the Astral Sea at all, you know, you've probably got to be at least somewhat competent or understand that there are other realms or navigating the Astral Sea if you've survived the Astral Sea at all. So I'm going to say if you want to get in a Spelljammer place, that you've got to watch Flash Gordon.
Oh, I got you.
Oh.
Yeah. You got to do it.
It's just a great little 80s romp. And if you haven't seen it, you should. 80s Spelljammery, space, insanity. Is that a good explanation of Flash Gordon?
Yeah.
On the superhero comic book theme, Invincible is a newer show that's on Amazon, and I feel like is good at exploring these themes. Maybe not the titular character, but the other superheroes. No spoilers, but you know, within the first few episodes, you learn a lot about why the world exists as it is, and kind of you see what the main character is experiencing. And I feel like that would be a good way to kind of show how high level the most powerful beings on this planet would be challenged and what would be kind of something interesting to do. Maybe don't do it exactly, but anyway.
Invincible and The Boys.
Yes.
The Boys,
yeah, the boys
is
too.
the correct. Okay. We finally got there. The Boys is the right answer because Homelander is level 20.
And how do you make him mad and how do you keep him in check and stuff? Yeah.
He's still got plenty of problems to navigate.
So many
world.
problems.
So more problems than most.
Yeah.
So my final answer is The Boys with a shout out to Flash Gordon.
I like it.
Since we're hanging out on Amazon so much, let's go ahead and watch Vox Machina because you're dealing with world level events and things like that. And since I pay for Crunchyroll through Amazon Prime, I'm technically staying there. The one that's out recently is called Solo Leveling.
Oh yeah.
So it's an anime. I feel like that's still the right term, but it's a manhwa, not a manga because it's from Korea. But the base level concept is that he is the bottom of tier 1, like the absolute bottom when he starts. Surprise, based on the name, he can level. And so like very quickly, even if you watch these two, the main character quickly becomes level 20 and is dealing with things on like continent levels, but also still has very poignant issues that he's trying to deal with and solve in his own life as the main motivations for what he is doing. He then resolves them only to find out that the power he now wields is still viable and needs to do these other things because the things he is protecting are still in danger if he doesn't go do those things. And now he has the power to do them, so he should. So it is a way to literally watch tier 1 through tier 4 very, very quickly, which is also how some D&D campaigns happen. We don't talk about it a lot, but it is also wild that they like a week later in real world time, you were just one bold bugbear would have smushed you, and now you're over just fighting the Tarask on another plane, and it's a week later in game time.
Oh, I was going to say, you're like the 5th person that's told me to watch Solo Leveling. So I guess I have to now. I will do my homework along with the listeners.
I would say the webcomic is definitely better. There are things that the anime misses, but also like I'm of the mind, like that's how this works. Like it can't go 1-to-1, just like a book can't turn directly into a movie. That's not how this works.
The last one that is more grounded and maybe kind of a tenuous link here, but stay with me. The 2012 sci-fi thriller Chronicle, starring Dane DeHaan and Michael B. Jordan. I don't know if either of you have seen this. Some kids find this meteor underground, touch it, and gain psychic powers or like telekinetic powers, and then start learning how to like fly and like move stuff with their minds and stuff. But I think that the way that they power scale so quickly, they're just like so much more capable than your run-of-the-mill human, but they still have problems and issues and relationships that they are trying to figure out. Even it kind of shows like even if you were like all of a sudden became a superhero, like they're not really superheroes, but like if you all of a sudden gain these powers, that doesn't mean your life gets better or easier or more fulfilling. It just complicates things. And I feel like that's kind of like the vibe, even if it's not specifically fantasy per se. It's a great film.
Oh, it's so good. Now, our most important question is, where can people go on this World Wide Web to see everything that you're doing?
On the World Wide Web, I'm on Instagram as Blastin_Astrid. You can see all my fun cosplays and D&D events coming up there. I'm also Blastin Astrid on TikTok if you like silly TikTok videos.
Perfect. And we'll have links to both those in the show notes. And it took too long. Took way too long to get you on. And I will remedy that mistake by ensuring that it will not be as long before we have you back.
I thank you for having me on. It was fun.
I feel like this is some of the meatiest meat we have had in a while. You know, I think this is a great episode.
Meat.
We just want to thank Astrid again for coming on, spending some time with us, and sharing her thoughts on the ways to run Tier 4 play.
If you would like to reach out to us and talk about your favorite way to run Tier 4 play, or tell us about some fun times that you had running Tier 4 play, or tell us that we had terrible opinions, you can email us at dungeonmasterblock@gmail.com.
And of course, if you see fit, you can head over to iTunes. Actually, sure, you can. And inside of iTunes, you might be able to find Apple Podcasts. And as always, you can go to your podcatcher of choice and leave us a rating and review, however many stars you feel like. Maybe there's other things than stars. I don't know. Thumbs up. Whatever you want. It'll help us defeat first name Al, last name Garithim.
That's how old this show is. The outline still says iTunes.
Yes. I refuse to change it.
If you want to hit us up on any of the social medias, odds are we are at DMS_block on whatever the new hotness is. So check us out there. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twixter, or any of the other short blogging social medias. And you can follow us on Instagram as well, where we're posting daily some DM-nastics. So if you want to join in on the fun and do a little DM-nastics, we have some cool images that give you ideas there. Honestly, that's one of the first ways I got inspired as a DM, was going onto Instagram and finding people who were posting kind of just cool fantasy-looking stuff. And I saved a bunch of them in my phone and wrote some campaigns from them. And actually, I still have that folder saved. So it's a great place to go and get a little inspiration in between episodes of DM's Block. The DM's Block is a proud member of the Block Party Podcast Network, and there is some fun stuff brewing for the summer, so if you are interested, make sure to stay tuned for the summer Block Party that we're going to have. We have some other amazing shows on the Block Party, like Dungeons & Dragons and Daughters, The Bad Venture Club, Knocked Prone, The Titans of Altera, and potentially more coming soon to a AirPod near you.
But as always, thanks for listening to the Dungeon Master's Block, the place where we come to talk about the Dungeon Master, the most important person in the game, the only person capable of playing God,
killing level 20 characters,
and lowering the egos of everyone else at the table. I'm DM Neal, good night, and good luck.
I'm DM Derrick, here to tell you to keep on Dungeon Mastering.
I don't know. I don't know what to do in tier 4. I really don't.
Honestly, the most fun idea I've ever heard is do a tier 4 one-shot, give everyone level 20 characters, give them as many magic items as they can, and then just do Suicide Squad, and they all die at the end.
Give them the deck of many things. That's fine.
Why not?
That's what happened. Literally, that's what happened. At Catacon, John Arcadian ran us with the Tarrasque, and I took the deck of many things. We defeated the Tarrasque, and I was inside of it because I had the Cloak of the Mountebank, and I was inside of it, defeating it. It dies.
You misty-stepped inside of it.
Yes, and I'm inside of it, upside down, because someone used reverse gravity to get it off the ground, so it was less capable. And I swim out of it, and then I start drawing cards out of the deck of many things. It's already dead, so let's go. Draw Void. Literally the first card. And so it needs a guardian, so my soul disappears, and there's a very viable guardian right next to me. So boom, both I and the Tarrasque disappear. It becomes an undead Tarrasque, and now the next year he basically makes it more powerful, and we gotta fight it again.
That's amazing. Sometimes the endings write themselves, or the sequels.
Done.
Goodbye.